On 7/10/25, McDonald's employee Afeni Muhammad stabbed McDonald's manager Jennifer Harris multiple times with a kitchen knife at the McDonald's restaurant at 179219 9 Mile. Harris was not armed at the time and died of her injuries. Prior to the stabbing, Muhammad was sent home by Harris for not performing her work duties and told Harris, "I'll be back." Muhammad admitted that she intended to kill Harris and stated that after she was sent home, she drove to a nearby park, decided to come back and stab Harris with a knife that she had inside of her vehicle.
I'm playing my Mozart, just that kind of mood today. Nah, this stays at home though. I'm not gonna bring this to work because that wouldn't look right, I guess.
Hey guys, it's Lovelxce, and it's time for another video. Today we look at the infamous story of the McDonald's murderer, Afeni Muhammad of East Point, Michigan. In July, she unalived her manager by stabbing after being sent home from work, after a long-standing beef between them, shocking even a desensitized nation. I hope you find my astrology doc on this case interesting. I made an astrology chart thinking about this situation. The charts I make in this manner have proven to be accurate. What do the stars say about her motivations, her energies, the manager who was accused of bullying her, and Afeni's future, or lack thereof? Let's get into it.
Did you want to kill her?
I did.
Chilling video of suspect Afeni Muhammad in custody admitting the desire of wanting to murder her manager Jennifer Harris the morning of July 10th. On Friday, 6 witnesses took the stand, 2 claiming an interaction took place between Muhammad and Harris that morning when the defendant was sent home from work for allegedly not doing her job.
She seemed very irritated, and she started off by saying, "So you clocked me out without telling me." And she kind of repeated it. She repeated it twice, and after she repeated it, Jennifer said something, and after that, that's when she said, "You know, you reap what you sow. I'll be back. You better watch your back."
In this video, you see Muhammad return back to McDonald's, walk past a delivery truck, her face covered by some sort of mask, a knife under her arm. She walks through the back entrance, approaches Harris, and stabs her 23 times. A customer in the drive-thru saw it happen and pulled out his gun to intervene.
Saying something like, stop, 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 hold on, stop. I produced my firearm off my hip. I pointed it at her. I did take a shot at her. She froze up a little bit, which stopped the attack. And then I guess she maybe something clicked, told her to run or something like that.
Body camera video shows Muhammad on the ground in the parking lot, her clothing covered in blood.
Let me just be clear, this is nothing, it's not depicting the incident, it's after the incident.
That's correct, and actually, Judge, at the point where he may enter McDonald's, I'm having the video stopped and we'll just go on with testimony.
Thank you.
For the record, we're going to start the video at around 2:12.
So this lady right here, on the drive I just got my food, and out of nowhere, the person who passed me my food just started getting stabbed up in the neck of the kitchen light. So I said, ma'am, please stop. Everybody in there running crazy. So I jump out, I said, ma'am, stop. She turned around. She turned around, she looked at me. I let her shot her. She runs out here. I come around here from this side. She falls on the ground. I tell her, don't move until the police get here. So I just don't want to get her. But I still have my truck there blocking the job. Okay.
The fuck are you looking at? Why are you looking at me like that? Like, he disgusts me. Oh my gosh, man. I'm just trying to like not say like how I feel right now. I don't want to sound violent, but I swear, man. He make me want to break his fucking neck. He make me want to break all of his fucking arms. He make me want to break his fucking legs. He make me want to rip his eyes out. He make me want to fucking ball him up and twist him and just fucking throw him out and just fucking rip him in pieces. Oh.
Let's take a closer look at the 26-year-old. In the chart I made about her, Virgo is rising. The ascendant is also at 29 degrees, which often signals a point of crisis and/or situation coming to a close. Virgo rising means Mercury represents her. This already tells us a lot. Virgo rising shows her in this situation as mentally active, mentally identified, critical, or criticism being a theme. A commenter on this Instagram video said, I think anytime she was corrected at work for making TikToks, playing flutophone, not staying on task, etc., she interpreted that as bullying. She explains her perception of work in this next video, which was a month before the incident.
I was wrongfully treated today at work. I was literally physically tapped on a lot of times. My name kept getting called. I was doing a great job. I kept getting sabotaged, tempted, so my button can get pressed and I can go out of character. So although I went out of character, all I could say was stop talking to me. That's all I could say. Stop talking to me. And to walk into my space, still bothering me, and I said, get away from me. Please get out of my space if you don't mind. I can't talk right now, and you still continue to touch me. That made me very unhappy. It was ridiculous. Because I know that I'm a great person, and I know I won't be tolerating that. So since they decided to bully me, let the universe show them what's next. Because it wasn't right. It was ridiculous. And there will be hell to pay for that. Without a doubt.
In one of her pictures, she's seen wearing a Libra bracelet, so she may be a Libra Sun native. If true, that could explain her keen interest in themes like fairness and justice. Through a twisted lens, she demanded to be treated fairly and wanted judgment. Let's see how my chart further describes her. So we look at Mercury. It is in fiery Leo in the 11th house. She had bold orange hair and called herself Risen Phoenix and Lava Babe on social media. She was clearly drawn to fire symbolism. Leo is the sign of pride and performance, and she absolutely expressed herself in that way. Loud, theatrical, deeply tied to a performative identity. The 11th house also represents organizations, and it appeared she was prideful of working at McDonald's. She seemed to often work in full employee swag. I feel she really took working there more than as just a job. It was part of her identity. Mercury in Leo shows us how she mentally processed events, with ego, with honor, and with a strong need to preserve her pride. A Greek lot, simply put, which describes themes at play. Honor is joined to the 10th house of career, mirroring that this pride was especially relevant to her job. Let's look deeper into how her thoughts may have been operating in this situation. Mercury being in Leo means that the sun explains more about the tone and underlying fuel behind her mindset and decisions. The sun is in Cancer, and that tells us something important. The sun in Cancer roots her sense of pride and emotion. Her thinking, Mercury, was shaped by pride, but it was emotionally driven, not just egoic. Her sense of dignity was tied to how she felt. The sun in the 10th house says all this was especially tied to the workplace. There's more about how her thoughts were operating in the situation. Mercury, which represents her and her mental state, is with the star Acubens. This star represents disappointments, losses, disputes. These things appeared to be weighing on her mind from her videos. Her loss of hours, the clear disappointment, and disputes with her manager. She seemed disappointed with unfairness in life in general. Now we look even deeper. The 12th house will help us understand how the subconscious was functioning, how she sabotaged herself, and hidden motivations. Virgo is on the 12th house. This tells us that her subconscious mind, her private world, and her self-undoing were rooted in Virgo themes: overthinking, perfectionism, criticism, control, anxiety. In darker cases like this one, I find a Virgo 12th house would point to mental unwellness where the mind and faulty logic becomes the source of collapse. Afeni's inner world appeared to be ruled by criticism, both the kind she received and the kind she gave. Based on the comments she's made in her videos, she likely ran a constant self-critical internal script: not good enough, not in control, not respected. Apparently, that internal harshness projected outward too, especially toward authority figures, another reference to Leo, who she saw as overstepping or unfair. Now we also have Mars in the South Node in the 12th house, and the picture sharpens furthermore. Mars here shows the rage and violence that stewed under the surface for a while. Mars also rules the 8th house of death. There did appear to be a fascination there. Spirituality aside, the South Node practically represents dysfunction and destruction when it is in the 12th house. The origin is inward, and it symbolizes self-destruction. I find it always represents some sort of risk or damage in my charts, especially ones about violent and unfortunate events. Combining Mars and the South Node in our observation, Afeni's 12th house Virgo points to flawed mental reasoning, a mind that convinced itself that violence, cutting, and stabbing were the logical solution. In her worldview, its plausible death became the correction needed to perfect her outer world. This wasn't the first time she spiraled into that pattern, but it was the one that cost someone their life. She had already pled guilty in March of 2022 for stabbing another person. Originally, it was rumored to be a co-worker at Taco Bell, but later, we learned what really happened.
It's not the first stabbing case Muhammad has been charged in. Local 4 uncovered court documents from a case out of Virginia where she pled guilty to unlawful felony wounding in 2022 after an incident where she stabbed her boyfriend during an argument. According to a criminal complaint, she admitted to stabbing him, saying they had gotten into an altercation after her boyfriend learned she had spoken with a male friend about issues in their relationship.
The court gave her a suspended 4-year sentence and she completed just 1 year of probation, no jail time. Because of this leniency, she remained free to stab again. Afeni's fascination with Chucky, the infamous killer doll from the Child's Play series, might seem odd at first. But in the context of our chart, it becomes psychologically and symbolically revealing. Chucky, by design, is a child's image, a Mercury symbol. Innocent in appearance, playful, small, easily dismissed. Something meant for entertainment, not danger. But once possessed, he becomes violent, unhinged, theatrical. His mythology revolves around themes of mockery, being underestimated, being treated like a joke, then retaliating to demand fear and respect. Our subject reportedly admired Chucky, referenced him in social media and style, and possibly even wanted to be like him. This wasn't just a passing interest, it was a symbolic overlay for her identity. So clearly mirrored, she regularly used the Chucky filter on her face. Through Chucky, perhaps she could externalize a personal story, feeling underestimated or disrespected, being seen as small, silly, or harmless, and ultimately reclaiming power through theatrical violence. Chucky doesn't just react, he performs his revenge. he turns humiliation into a show. And that matches exactly what we see with Mercury in Leo, already discussed. Thoughts, tendencies, and decisions are filtered through pride, ego, and performance. So when you put this together, Chucky becomes more than a character. He's a symbol of how our subject may have seen herself. Someone mocked, until she became feared, with perhaps twisted Libra sense of justice. In this chart, the moon is tightly conjunct Pluto retrograde, right at the cusp of the 5th house, the domain of personal expression, creativity, and performance. The 5th house will also relate to entertainment and movies, such as Chucky. The moon governs emotional needs and how we seek security, among other things. It's also the vibe of this situation overall. Pluto, especially retrograde, brings themes of power, obsession, compulsion, and states that she felt deep emotional turmoil. Together at the 5th house cusp, these planets describe someone who discharges emotional intensity through creative expression, a temporary outlet before the inevitable eruption. Because the sun's in Cancer, the moon has connection to the sun in the 10th house, so again, these things I described are deeply tied to the workplace.
I'm tossing and turning, cause she woke me up before the roosters could say cock-a-doodle high. Now I got this bitch burning, cause I was freezing and I turned the heat on 85. It's 4 in the fucking morning, bitch, put your headphones in. Don't ask me if it's too loud when you know it is. Then proceed to go on with your bullshit. So I blasted my hip-hop termination instrumental, cause I don't tolerate bullying. Call me Charlie, I'm the fire starter in this bullpit. She went for breakfast around 6-ish. Damn, you barely ate your dinner I brought us from Texas Roadhouse. The damn dishes just sitting in the fridge.
I had to show her music for context. Apologies. While it isn't particularly polished or impressive, there were moments of raw honesty and creative spark that some listeners appreciated. A few even believed she had real potential. Pluto, a transformational planet, is certainly related to the Phoenix symbol, and her social media name, Risen Phoenix, feels less like a persona and more like a misaligned personal prophecy. The Phoenix's symbol of destruction and rebirth, of dying in fire and rising from the ashes, mirrors Pluto's archetype perfectly. She seemed to vent this raw Pluto energy through her music, which may be why some people resonated with its genuinity. Expressing her pain and frustrations creatively was likely part of how she made sense of herself in the world, until it erupted like I mentioned before, like uncontrollable lava. With the Mercury in Leo in the 11th house, there's also a hint that, despite what she had done, her voice and message find support amongst a segment of the public. Though, of course, her act was not condoned. There were many sympathetic comments on her Instagram shortly after the incident. My impression was people seeing how she could have been treated like an outcast due to her eccentricity. The late 39-year-old Jennifer Harris was her manager at McDonald's. Here's what she had to say about her. Back in July, I was surprised at how many people online firmly believed her testimony when I first researched this case. These videos are only a couple of days before she would attack Miss Harris.
I got sent home early yesterday. I got sent home early today by the same person. I'm telling you, she's a bully. This shit isn't funny. She needs to understand that just because she's a mother and got children doesn't mean that she can come in the store, you know, disrespecting people, talking to them like everybody's beneath her. She has no respect. And it isn't funny at all. Like, seriously, man, I got shit I gotta take care of. And she keeps sending me home early. It's not funny. She's playing games. And then all day, throughout the day, she keeps sending her little racial shit. And then throughout the day, she keeps on, like, putting negative energy in the air, talking about people, gossiping about people. It's not funny, man. That shit gonna have to stop. She's a bully. I'm telling you. She's a bully. She brings a lot of negative energy in there. She always panic when there's a lot going on, and then she try to manipulate that and make it seem like we ain't doing something right, but we are working really hard and doing great. It's just the fact that she panicked, and I caught her a few times making a mistake, and she tried to hurry up and play it off. You know, nobody's perfect. It's fucking McDonald's. It happens. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, somebody might get confused. So fuck, it gets busy, yeah. But she needs to stop playing like she don't be making mistakes. I be catching her. So her, all that animosity and shit, that she keep putting in the air and stuff, then trying to tell me I'm always snapping on people. No, that's false. No, I don't snap on people. I don't go in there doing that. I tell her, no, I make peace. That's what I'm doing. I've been creating peace. So all that negative energy that she's bringing in there and trying to manipulate it, no, that's going to stop. All that negative shit she's saying about, you know, her personal life, all of that. No, she's bringing all of that in there and then playing games saying she want to take her belt off and beat somebody. Y'all act like my kids in here. No, we ain't your kids. Respect us. Stop talking to us like that. That shit is crazy. I'm telling you. But to get sent home 2 days in a row, man, and I came in on my off day to make up my time, and she still sends me home early, it's not funny. Somebody will have to do something about that. It's not funny. It's not fair. It isn't funny at all. So, you know, she could keep being a bully if she wants to, but that shit is going to catch up to her. Because it ain't funny at all. It ain't. Then one day she coming in there talking about some, yeah, I broke my door in half and I had to pull my gun out on my kids since this and that. Well, you know, telling us that, like, the fuck you telling us you pulled a gun out on your kids for? You sound like a fucking psychopath. That's what I wanted to tell her. She was talking about some she blacked out. I'm like, yeah, you must have had blacked out if you pulled the gun out on your kids. Like, you know, like, I'm like, what the fuck you telling me this for? Like, she think she's like trying to make it seem like that she big dog or some shit. Give a fuck about you telling me about you pulling the gun out on a kid. I don't fucking, like, that shit doesn't scare me. You know what I mean? That shit doesn't scare me. If she thought she was trying to intimidate me, that shit didn't intimidate me at all. I don't give a fuck about her telling me about what the fuck she did. You know, and maybe that's why they always fighting her, to defend themselves. They probably felt like their life was threatened. The fuck out of here with that shit.
Next, I'll get into what I subscribe the stars say in comparison to Miss Muhammad. Jupiter in Cancer here is powerful. It shows Miss Harris as someone who carried herself with authority, acted in tendency of good faith, was accurate in her concerns about the orange-haired worker, and held an integral position within the workplace. Her 10th house placement in Cancer underscores the influence she had on the emotional tone of the environment. Jupiter in Cancer amplifies feeling, indicating that the workplace carried a strong emotional charge around her role and presence. This Cancer-Jupiter placement indicates a person who genuinely embodied a matriarchal and empathetic figure, and perhaps why she did not simply fire Muhammad for offenses and instead would send her home. It is not surprising she had 6 kids. This is big maternal energy. However, Jupiter is separating from a 10th square with the negatively charged Saturn in Aries, the ruler of Muhammad's 5th house, which is connected to the emotional turmoil I described earlier. Saturn is joined to Neptune, and in Aries this pair shows her likely interpreting Harris's discipline through a distorted, aggravated state of mind. Her anger, frustration, and internal chaos weren't directed at Miss Harris for who she was, but for what Muhammad projected onto her. Saturn and Neptune are contradictory energies. This mixing is the clash of reality and discipline versus fantasy and idealism, with the sign Aries adding heat, volatility, and anger. It suggests Miss Muhammad convincing herself that her reactions were justified, not because of reality, but because of the story she had already created in her own head, and the self-sabotaging anger she held inside her. Further insight comes from the manager's house of death ruler, Venus, which is conjunct, meaning joined to, 2 notable fixed stars in Gemini, and the northern bullseye is a star tied to perseverance, attainment, and rising into a position of significance. As she's shown, Miss Harris was likely ambitious and had earned her position, I suspect, motivated by taking care of her family. Yet, it's said when An is connected to a negative influence, which it is in this chart, since Venus rules her house of death, it shows a rise followed by a fall. Her role placed her in a position of authority that tragically became intertwined with the circumstances of her death. She became a victim of her position, a victim of success. Hyades, the rainy stars, is a cluster associated with sorrow, mourning, and emotional heaviness. Its Mars-like nature adds themes of conflict, escalation, and tragedy. With Venus, the ruler of Miss Harris's house of death, joined to Hyades, the symbolism reflects the grief and shock surrounding her passing. The star colors her death with a heavy, sorrowful atmosphere, marking the emotional devastation left in its wake. Now that we've looked at the individuals involved, what does the chart say about the legal aftermath and Muhammad's future? This chapter is based on my reading done in July. The 9th house rules legal proceedings and her lawyer, which was appointed by the court. The star Algol is at the 9th house cusp, immediately setting a dark tone. Algol is one of the most infamous fixed stars, often linked to alcohol, which gets its name from algol, violence, or intoxication, an involuntarily removal of the head classically, but modernly, insanity. Its placement here coincides with insanity or mental instability as a central theme of her defense. Venus in Gemini represents the lawyer in this chart. This placement again says that the legal strategy revolves around Muhammad's mental state. This matches what has been reported, that her lawyer has mentioned domestic abuse playing a factor, and that alcohol had played a role in shaping her trauma, not that she was intoxicated during the murder, leading to the incident.
Your name, please, ma'am?
Afeni Muhammad.
Very good. You're here today for arraignment on the charges of murder in the first degree, premeditated, count 2, carrying a weapon with unlawful intent, and a habitual second notice. Mr. Licata, how does your client wish to proceed?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. At this time, my client is asking the court to enter a not guilty plea. There are some disturbing facts in this particular matter, but there are facts that haven't been brought out yet, and my client is extremely anxious to have those facts brought to light during the pendency of this case. She was in an extremely abusive relationship that was not only mental but physical, that involved alcohol issues, which is where the habitual second stems from.
Stars aside, it's more than likely without looking at the stars, she will get life without parole if convicted for first-degree murder. Due to the state's laws, witnesses, video evidence, and Muhammad's prior stabbing conviction, she will not be getting off easy this time, and the judge set the tone for this, granting an 8-figure bond. Now, using the stars, let's look at the 12th house, which will describe the type of imprisonment received. Virgo is on the 12th house, and this placement often describes institutional settings, environments ruled by evaluation, medical authority, structure, and routine. In many charts, Virgo here points toward the possibility of institutionalization rather than a standard prison term, especially when mental instability is central to the case. In Michigan, someone found guilty can still receive a life-level outcome, even if placed in a psychiatric or forensic facility instead of a traditional prison. And the symbolism here aligns with that possibility. Virgo speaks to confinement that is monitored, clinical, and heavily regulated, the type of environment reserved for those deemed mentally unwell or requiring long-term psychological management. Mercury, the ruler of that 12th house, which will describe her nature of imprisonment further, is in Leo in the 11th house. Leo again highlights themes of visibility, public attention, and a sense of spectacle, suggesting that whatever form her confinement takes, it will be highly watched, discussed, or publicly significant. As a fixed sign, Leo can also point to something long-lasting or firmly established, echoing the seriousness of the charges she faces. And what about the judge? That's described by the 10th house. Jupiter in Cancer is there, as I explained, in a dignified and exalted placement. The judge is shown as highly moral, traditional, and emotionally aligned with the public good. But Jupiter square Saturn says her judgment is likely severe. The placement of Jupiter in this house shows that the judge identifies strongly with the victim, Jennifer Harris, who was also represented by Jupiter in Cancer earlier. The message here is clear. The judge sees the victim's plight as highly worthy of justice. With Jupiter so well placed, the court is likely to deliver a sentence meant to protect and preserve, not just punish Muhammad, but to honor Jennifer's life and role as a mother of 6. Lastly, because Gemini owns the 10th house, this means the judge is also represented by Mercury, the same planet as Muhammad. This suggests, nevertheless, some sympathy towards her, and that they are keenly aware of her mental flaws. I see the judge having fair considerations for both victim and perpetrator. In September, Muhammad appeared in court, and we received an update which introduced another complexity in her case. Would she be deemed fit to stand trial and mentally competent? Again, the mentally focused Gemini vibe of the 9th house rings true. In the most recent update, chaos erupted in the courtroom, while the court viewed the actual stabbing of Harris, her family witnessing.
We're going to go now to our other top story today, chaos inside an East Point courtroom as the suspect in July's deadly McDonald's stabbing faced a judge. The victim's daughter tackled by police after leaving the courtroom and allegedly returning with a knife. But the hearing continued with prosecutors revealing how and why Afeni Muhammad allegedly stabbed her manager to death. 7 News Detroit reporter Ruta Alsonaida inside the courtroom. She's showing us what happened today and what comes next.
It was a dramatic day here at District Court in East Point as prosecutors played the surveillance video of what they say is Afeni Muhammad killing Jennifer Harris. It's that video that set off a chain reaction and left Jennifer Harris's 17-year-old daughter behind bars. This right here is video of the chaotic aftermath of the 17-year-old daughter of Jennifer Jama Harris, who was tackled and arrested by police in the lobby of 38th District Court. East Point police say she brought a knife into the courthouse after seeing the disturbing surveillance video of her mother's murder in court. Harris's family was then barred from returning to the courtroom for the rest of Friday's hearing. Prosecutors releasing new video on what they say is 26-year-old Afeni Muhammad, her face covered with some sort of mask, a large knife hidden under her arm, walking into the back of the East Point McDonald's on July 10th, where she and her manager Jennifer Harris worked. Prosecutors say Muhammad was sent home earlier that day by Harris for slacking off. She later returned, allegedly stabbing Harris at least 13 times. Judge Kathleen Galen finding enough probable cause to order Muhammad to stand trial, so she will be back in court December 2nd. As for Harris's daughter, who is accused of bringing that knife to court, prosecutors are considering charges for her actions in court.
That's all I've got for now. What do you think?